The first movement that I want to cover for the big five for when it comes to your lower body mobility is going to be the big lunge. All right, the big lunge is going to help open up your hips. It's going to help improve your squats. It's going to take stress off of your lower back, and it's just going to help you move and feel better. And so it's real simple. The way to set up for it, you're just going to step out with one foot. You want to have both hands on the floor, and so you're basically directly next to your front foot. Now, if you're really, really tight, you're probably not going to be able to get your leg up there, and so you're going to have to kind of try to force it there. But once you get set up here, you want your other leg basically trailing behind, so you want a lot of space here, all right? You want to have a lot of spread here, okay? Now, the key thing here is hands are flat on the floor. I'm pushing my knee out, and from here, it's not an actual like hold or a stretch or anything like that. You want to mobilize, so I'm going to kind of move my body around, and I'm constantly pushing this knee out, keeping this front foot flat, and just mobilizing. So you can kind of try to go elbow to instep here. You can reach and rotate back. You can rotate across the front leg. And what you want to do is you want to hold this position for a good 90 seconds up to 2 minutes, okay? And then, of course, you'll want to get the other side, so I'll show you. You're going to take a big step out, both hands down on the floor, and then I'm in this big lunge mobility position here. And I love to do this movement at the end of the day when I'm starting to wind down, because again, it relieves a lot of tension that you have on the low backs, because it's opening up your hips on this side, it's stretching the hips, or it's mobilizing the hip joint on this side, and it's just getting you in a good position. And if you sit a lot during the day, you're only tightening up your hips, and you're going to cause more stress on your low back. And so this first one, big mobility, make sure you're hitting it. It's going to really open up those hips. The next lower body mobility movement I want to go through within the big five here is going to be ankle mobility. Okay, another lack in mobility that we have is oftentimes with our ankles. So it's either our hips are tight or our ankles are tight, which cause knee pain, which take away from our range of motion with our squats, our lunges, all sorts of different things. And so what we can do is we can use a little bit of weight to assist in getting us into a good stretch and a good mobility position to increase that range of motion with the ankle. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a lighter kettlebell to start. You're going to be in a kneeling position here. You'll set that kettlebell down on the inside of your knee. Okay, so it's basically on top of the knee, but on the inside. And what you're going to do is you're just going to scoot up close to this foot. You want to be flat-footed, so the weight is back in the heels. And you're going to push this knee as far forward as possible. And you're just going to kind of ease in to a little bit of a stretch, and so you're mobilizing the joint. So I'm not holding this as a stretch, I'm mobilizing, okay? So I'm constantly moving my leg around a little bit. So I want to keep the knee out. I do not want to come in with the knee, that's going to be bad. I want to push that knee out and really mobilize the ankle for the proper range of motion here, okay? So you're just kind of moving it around. You're going to hang out good 90 seconds to 2 minutes on this side. Set the kettlebell down, set it on the other side, and again, you're just going to scoot up and just start to mobilize that ankle a little bit. You're going to feel a nice little stretch in the calf and the Achilles. And what you want to make sure of is you're keeping that foot flat. So again, don't let the toes come up. And if you're super tight, you might just have to start with body weight and just kind of mobilize that position and ease into it. But you can use a kettlebell, you can use a dumbbell, you can use like a sandbag, small child, whatever you choose to help ease into that movement. But again, 90 seconds to 2 minutes on each side. That's going to help loosen up your ankles. Next lower body mobility movement I want to go through is your hip flexor super stretch, or you can call it a couch stretch. But basically, we're stretching the hip flexor, and we're also going to get a little bit of the psoas with this stretch. And again, the main focus for this mobility movement is to loosen up the lower back, open up the hips. All right, so we did the big lunge. This one's putting you more in a vertical position. That's going to hit the hip flexors a little bit more. And so what I'm just going to demo with this box. You can use a couch, you can use a bench, you can use a chair, you can use the wall, all right? It just depends. You need to lean your back foot up against something. So I'm just going to use a box here to get set up. What you'll do is you'll get next to the box or the wall, and you're going to put one foot up. So if it's a box like this, you can put your foot on top of the box, and your ideal position is knee against the object. So either the wall or the box, but a lot of times you're going to be too tight, so you might have to start a little bit away from the object. So you're going to step up with the other foot, and then we're sitting up tall. So you're gonna feel this stretch a ton in the hip flexor. You might even feel it in the lower back here, but you're gonna feel it hip flexor and the quad for sure. Okay, from here, instead of just hanging out and relaxing, I'm gonna tighten up my core, and I'm gonna draw my belly in as if I was gonna get punched in the stomach. Okay, if you want, you can use like a PVC pipe, you can use a medicine ball, you can use another object to kind of balance on if you need it, but you're just gonna basically hold this position, and you're gonna draw in, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive your hip forward. So my hip that is getting stretched, I'm gonna push my hip forward, I'm gonna squeeze my butt. That's gonna increase the intensity on this stretch here, really feel it in the quad, really feel it in the hip flexor, but I wanna draw in, so now I'm hitting the psoas as well. And just like with the other mobility movements, I wanna get a good 90 seconds to 2 minutes in this position. And similar to like, any other movement that we progress, we're gonna try to move ourselves closer and closer to the wall or the object to increase the intensity of the stretch over time as well. So as your mobility increases, you'll be able to scoot a little bit closer to the object as well. But we'll hang out on this side, boom, and then we will go ahead and switch it up. We'll get it on the other side. So I'll go all the way down, my knee in contact here, get a good stretch, and then draw in. We're just gonna hold this position here. You're gonna get a hell of a stretch in, but that right there, it's gonna help mobilize those hips. So again, it's gonna take a lot of stress off of your low back. So if you're experiencing low back pain, things like that, you need to be doing this mobility stretch every single day. So again, 90 seconds to 2 minutes each side for your super hip flexor stretch or your couch stretch, whatever you wanna call it, just get it done. So the next lower body mobility movement I wanna show you is the pigeon stretch, all right? It's gonna target your hips, but we'll get a little bit of your hamstring as well. And what you need is, an edge of an object. So whether it be a box, a chair, a couch, whatever it might be, it's typically gonna be about knee height, but it could be a little bit higher than that. No higher than hip height though, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna actually lay your leg down. So from your knee, you're gonna bend at your knee. And so it's like the outside of your knee and your ankle are in contact with the object. So you're gonna set yourself down there. And what you're gonna do from here is you're gonna sink down into a stretch. And now you're gonna feel this stretch back part of your hip here, and you're gonna feel it a little bit in the hamstring as well. But you're just gonna start mobilizing this position so you can kind of rotate towards the inside. You can rotate towards the outside, pushing your hip down. But you're gonna go 90 seconds up to 2 minutes each leg. And again, this is really targeting the hip and a little bit of the hamstrings, but it's gonna hit your lower back as well. And so again, if you got lower back tightness, like all of these movements that I've been going through up to this point are gonna help with that. But the thing is you gotta be consistent with them. So that there is your pigeon stretch. Again, 90 seconds to 2 minutes each side. Final movement I wanna go over within the big 5 for your lower body is going to be a squat sit. All right, so you need a wall for this. I'm gonna show you with this box from the side so you get in the proper position, okay? So what this is mobilizing is the bottom of a squat, all right? And so what you're gonna do is you'll set up against a wall. You just wanna step out just a little bit, and you might have to play around with it when you first start to figure out where your feet need to be, but we wanna be about shoulder width apart, okay? We don't wanna be super wide. That's not gonna be helping us work towards a better squat position. So we wanna think, where do our feet need to be for a squat? So about shoulder width apart, maybe just a little bit wider than that. So we'll be set there, step out, and then if you're against the wall, you're just gonna put your butt against the wall, squat down, and when you're in this position, you wanna lean back so your chest is nice and tall, but we're sitting in the bottom of the squat. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your elbows inside your knees, and you're pushing your knees out, and we're just gonna hold this position. So out of all the movements that we've done, this is the only one that we're literally just gonna hold. And you wanna accumulate a good 2 minutes sitting in this position. When you first start, you're probably not gonna be able to last for a full two minutes. You're gonna have to probably rest a little bit, but you wanna accumulate at least 2 minutes. Once you get yourself to sitting for 2 minutes, then you know you've improved that mobility. Chances are your squat has probably improved as well. So just a look from the front, you're literally sitting here pushing the knees out, chest is nice and tall, your upper back should be nice and flat on the wall, okay? So you wanna make sure that you're not too far away from the wall, where your butt's like falling all the way down to the ground, but you're just far enough away where there's still tension, you're in your heels, and you feel nice and solid in that bottom of the squat. So that is the last one that I wanted to cover with the big 5 lower body mobility. If you need to improve that mobility with the lower body, you need to be doing these every single day. You need to be consistent with it, take the time to do it, and you will see improvements in how well you move.